This is a special bonus episode of A Deeper Listen from KEXP. I'm Emily Fox. Neko Case recently put out a memoir. It's called The Harder I Fight, the More I Love You. I've been a longtime fan of Neko Case and had a chance to read the memoir, so I thought I'd share my review of it with you. We'll be back with our interview format in the next episode of this podcast. But for now, I hope this review helps you understand Neko in a new way and allow you to listen to her music a little more deeply. So, I first fell in love with Neko Case in 2006. I stumbled upon her album Fox Confessor Brings the Flood at one of those listening kiosks in a record store, the ones where they have a few albums on display and headphones available for you to listen. It was her album art that included Fox's that first drew me in. And then I put on those communal headphones, and Neko's belted alto tone got me hooked.
Compared to some I've been around, but I really tried so hard. That echo chorus like music. Hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on.
I listened to the album all summer while I drove in my family's hand-me-down minivan between my rural Midwest cornfield-lined hometown and the nearby Rust Belt capital city of Michigan.
Driving home, I see those flooded fields. How can people not know what beauty this is? I've taken it for granted my whole life since the day I was born.
I cried to the title track while driving said minivan after visiting an ex and realizing my first serious relationship had ended its course.
I flooded my sleeves as I drove home again.
I felt like Neko Case was speaking right to me. And I fell in love with her even more when I heard an interview she did with NPR when she released her 2009 album, Middle Cyclone. She talked about how she wrote a song about falling in love with a tornado.
I want you. I've waited with the glaciers, patience, smashed every transformer with every trailer till nothing was standing. 65 miles wide.
And how the bonus track of that record was recording either crickets or spring peepers in a field. These were sounds that I too heard every night growing up in springtime. Neko's love of nature connected with my own. We were both also altos, something I loved to hear at a time when I was studying classical voice in college, where the main goal for my instructors was to learn how to sing louder and higher. Why couldn't I just be like Neko Case instead? When my voice felt out of place, I gobbled up Neko Case's albums as comfort. So when I heard that Neko Case was about to publish a memoir, I couldn't resist. As the title suggests, The Harder I Fight, the More I Love You, it's a heartbreaking story, a story largely about neglect and abandonment. In the first chapter, Neko Case describes being a child of children. Her parents got pregnant in late high school, and as Case describes it, these two people had no business being together, and even less business forcing a human soul into this world. She goes on to share stories of falling into a pool as a toddler when her parents weren't watching, to spending 12 hours alone every weekday the summer she was 7, while her mother and stepdad were off at work. Case also wrote about filing for emancipation before she was 18. But the most intense moment she wrote about was her family telling her her mother died when Case was 8 years old, only for her mother to come back in her life a little while later. There was talk of her mother having a cancer diagnosis, but she had actually gone off to live in Hawaii for a while. And later in the book, Case comes to the realization that her mother might never have had cancer in the first place. So much of this memoir is rooted in Washington State, with Case growing up in Bellingham, then moving to Vancouver, Washington in late elementary after her parents split up, then on to Seattle and Tacoma. Amid her family turmoil, she found solace and comfort in nature and animals, writing that she trusted animals more than people. Then, when she was 14, she started listening to radio stations like KEXP, formerly KCMU in Seattle, and developed a relationship with music. She wrote that music was the only thing on earth that never let her down. But she didn't get seriously involved in music and find her own voice until she attended an arts college in Vancouver, British Columbia. It was there that she started performing with the band Now.
Mr. Favorite, kiss me with your shiny boot, Mr. Favorite.
At that point, Case didn't feel worthy enough or comfortable enough to sing a solo. It was in Mal that she started singing solo, and shortly after that moment, Case made her first solo album, The Virginian.
A man in Kentucky sure is lucky to lie down in Bowling Green, yeah.
The book closes with some chapters on the reality of being a musician. How when she was coming up the music scene in the early 2000s, sound engineers, who she notes were always men, were, quote, keenly aware that you are an earless vagina and therefore ignorant of sound engineering and its many guarded mysteries. And how, quote, most of the people living as a touring musician work really hard and barely keep it together. Nothing is guaranteed, and there is no retirement plan or safety net or insurance unless you have a trust fund and you never come off the road. Despite her family's struggles and upbringing, and despite how hard it is to make a name for yourself in music, Neko Case, who's now in her mid-50s, is still killing it. She's released 7 studio albums in her career, and she just released this new memoir, and she's also working on scoring the music for a new Broadway musical of Thelma and Louise. Case still uses nature and animals to ground herself. She wraps up the memoir by sharing that she finally has something she always dreamed of, owning horses. They bring her joy and calm her anxieties, writing that they are the friends and family I craved my whole life. And I'm so glad she's been able to connect with animals and nature despite not having the family she deserved. That nature connection and her voice drew me in almost 20 years ago. And reading Neko Case's memoir, The Harder I Fight, The More I Love You, only deepens my appreciation for all she's gone through to get to where she is today.
I'm so tired. I wish I was the moon tonight. How will you know if you found me out loud? 'Cause I'll be the one, be the one, be the one with my heart in my lap. I'm so tired, and I wish I was the moon tonight.
And that was A Deeper Listen. Before you go, please subscribe to this podcast, rate it, and review it. Those little things go a long way in helping spread the word, or share an episode with a friend. You can also help support this publicly funded podcast and radio station by giving $6 a month at KEXP.org/deeper. And thanks for taking a deeper listen.